views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try.
Hello, this is Patty Hunter, and welcome to my show again. This week, we have 3 people that are on my show. To my left is John Dickmeyer.
Hi, Patty.
He used to work at...
The Allen County Public Library.
And to his left is Senator David Long. Hello, sir.
Hi, Patty. Nice to be here.
And you, Melissa Long.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Melissa Hunter Long.
Correct.
My last name's Hunter, and she's a hunter, too.
I am.
And you're from Ontario?
Well,
yes. Your family.
My father's ancestors came from Ontario, London, Ontario, and before that from Scotland and Ireland.
Scotland and Ireland.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
So where were you born then?
I was born right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at Lutheran Hospital.
Oh, my goodness.
On Fairfield, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's nice here, isn't it?
Yes, I like it very much.
And you, Senator Long, where were you born?
I was born in Santa Ana, California. My mom could trace her family all the way back to the Mayflower, like probably 50 million people claim they can, right? And my dad's, best we could figure, some trapper came over the Canadian border on his side of the family. We couldn't quite trace them back, but so Canadian. I may well have some Canadian in me too. I don't know. Who knows?
Dang! And I'm from Ontario, Canada, and you're?
I'm actually from here. Let's put it this way. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, but adopted right after birth, and I've been here ever since. Yeah.
So, how long have you been here in Fort Wayne?
Well, Melissa and I have lived here since 1983, but I went to college for a few years down at Wabash College as well, so I've been a Hoosier a high percentage of my life. So.
I've been here 8 years. Even though I've been in the United States itself for 21 years. It's nice here. I like this. It's like a dome over the city. There's not that much bad weather compared to the rest of the
agree with
country. Oh, especially Texas. Oh.
Yeah, poor things.
Oh. When did you first become interested in the media?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably when I was right after college. I mean, well, during college, I would say. I would go fill in at the college radio station, but I wasn't a journalism major. I didn't work at the college radio station. I did more theater, you know, and I was in communications and English, but
You're actor?
I did a lot of acting in high school and in college and after college too. So just
Do
big
you
community
still
theater.
Act now, or
I've done a few things here in Fort Wayne.
you act up too?
I act up, yeah.
Vouch for that.
I've done stuff at IPFW, First Pres, and also at the Civic. So it's just sort of a hobby, and I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I enjoy it.
How did you meet the senator?
He was my older brother's roommate at college at Wabash College. So I met him many, many, many years ago. Matt brought him home for a weekend, and
there you go.
Yeah, I sort of thought he was cute. And years later, when Matt got married, David had since returned to California, but he came back for the wedding. And that's when the actual sparks really flew both ways, not just from me to him.
Yeah, okay. So it's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Little sister had grown up.
That's right. That's right. So it was probably 6 or 8 years after we first met that we really became interested in each other. And and then we got married, and we've been married for 34 years as of June 5th.
Which was yesterday.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, congratulations,
Thank
both
you.
of you.
Thank you.
You have kids?
Two boys.
20 and 24.
Almost
when did-
29.
Almost 20? Oh, you don't look it. So tell me already, when did you start getting interested in politics?
Well, I got engaged in politics in the 1983 mayor's race. We moved out here, and I passed the bar and was practicing in a law firm, and I just walked in Republican headquarters one day and volunteered to help. And it was a race between Win Moses, the
I
the
heard.
incumbent mayor, and Bud Meeks, the former sheriff at the time, later state senator, who became a very dear friend of mine late in life. Before he passed away in 2004, I think it was. But I walked in and volunteered and got involved in the race. And next thing I know, I was a young Republican. And then I was president of the Young Republicans. And then I ran for city council and won.
Nope.
The old-fashioned way, sort of worked your
Worked
way
hard.
up. Yeah.
Worked our way around. I knocked on every door and wore out a couple pair of shoes. But I was probably the only person that really thought I could win. I don't think Melissa even thought I could win.
I didn't.
You know, so,
I said, "Are you kidding me?"
and I beat Ben Eisbart, who's subsequently was on the school board and then an executive for SDI. And every time I see Ben, he thanks me for beating him because it's the best thing that ever happened to him. He moved on to a very successful business career.
And the interesting thing is, Ben beat my father for that seat. My father was a Fort Wayne City Councilman.
Oh my goodness.
And he served one term, and Ben Eisbart beat my dad, and Ben served 2 terms. And then by that time, we'd moved back to Fort Wayne, and David ran against Ben and beat Ben, and so it was just very cyclical that way. But we're all friends. And
Ben has turned out to
Ben's
be a good friend, and he's a
Ben's a
very
great guy.
great
Yeah.
member of our community.
Yeah, he
the
is.
Eisbarts are.
How long have you been senator?
Well, 20 years now.
20 years.
I was 8 years in the city council and then
Yeah.
20 years in the Senate.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
How do you put up with him?
He's gone half the time, so it's not.
So you have freedom.
Well,
It
having
helps,
known
I'm
him
sure.
for 44 years, we've known each other.
Oh my goodness, that helps.
It's I love him, so that's how
That's
I put
good.
up with
I
him.
think it's good to have a relationship like that.
Yeah.
So you're running for
Re-election.
Re-election.
Mhm.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, John. Any?
Well, where do I start? Oh, well, I can say that our family has been Republican since they were Whigs before they were Republicans over in Ohio. But I kind of want to go back to the legislative session, and one of my interests, because I taught for a while, is education. And talk to us a little bit about what's happening in Indiana with education.
Well, Indiana, like most states, has taken a look at the outcomes of our students and found that we don't feel we're doing the job for them to get them prepared to have successful careers, which is why we go to schools to learn, be educated, and get a good job, hopefully, and be successful people in life, whatever that path is. And so we're one of 50 states. Obviously, we have our own accountability measures and testing and everything else, but the goals are the same, and that is to get our kids prepared for the workforce, to give them the best education they can have. So we've implemented accountability measures for our schools and for our teachers, and we are in the process right now of really reviewing them. One of the things we're doing is we're changing our test. We're testing our kids too much. We're testing them to death, really, and it's in
Kind
a
of
lot of
wears them out.
A lot of teachers complain that they're teaching to the test, and well, that's understandable to a point. So it's too much. So we're changing the I-STEP test. We're getting rid of it. We're putting it in the rearview mirror, and we're moving to a simpler, smarter test, we think, that better shows the children's growth. It's fair to the teachers and to the kids as well. It takes a lot less time. It's a lot less expensive. We're in the process right now of reviewing that. We're also trying to make sure that we improve our relationship with our teachers, because we feel teachers are maybe the most important people in our society, and they feel like they've been blamed for some of the bad outcomes when in fact I think a lot of it's been the system. And so we're trying to change that relationship as well, and it's a process. But I think that's very important. We want to attract our children, the best and brightest of our young people, to become teachers. It's a calling, obviously. We want to have to pay them a little bit more, obviously, but we also want it to be the revered profession that it should be. So we're working hard to change that relationship, and all of that's going on right now in the mix of trying to get the best outcome we can for our kids.
And I think there's an evolution too about focus in schools about after high school, because not everyone, a four-year college is not for everyone. And I think there is a recognition of that now, that there are great manufacturing jobs to be had, but no one to fill those jobs because they don't know the welding and the machining and the fabricating and a lot of the skills, the trades that they can make a very good living at. And so I think there's a renewed effort to sort of introduce some of the students to those kinds of skills, to say, hey, if you don't think a four-year college is for you, here's another option. Trade school, where you can
Well, that's
actually,
right.
and so I think our high schools and our business community are working together now in a way that they hadn't in the past to try to get those kids early, junior high, high school, and teach them and let them know what's out there and what's available for them.
The problem is if you don't do that, there's a skills gap not only in Indiana but in every state, meaning that there's jobs going wanting because they don't have a skilled workforce to fill them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Melissa's talking about we're trying to do is reach into the schools, create apprenticeship programs while still in high school, and even educate the kids lower than that about these opportunities, and give them a chance to potentially learn a trade, get skilled, be certified when they come out of high school, but then they're working with a company as well, right here in the region. And they can go on to Ivy Tech and get a 2-year degree. These jobs will pay $80,000 a year. You know, they're good paying jobs, and it can, you know, be a lifetime career. And you know, people are going to college right now, getting a 4-year degree, and they're unemployable.
Yes.
Because the degree they're getting doesn't provide the skills they need
And they
in
want-
today's workforce.
And some of the people who are hiring say, I want a college or a university degree. And it's all either you're too over qualified or under. And
Right.
also trade school was
Sure.
during my day. I'm in my 60s. Anyways, they were in my day in Toronto. They started doing that for people who had trouble with regular schools
Sure.
and could learn trade.
And you know, manufacturing these days is a lot different, I think, than what
In the
you
old days.
envision. You know, dirty old factories and these kinds of things. And they're very high tech, they're very clean, they're very well run, and you know, it's a really attractive option for a lot of high school kids. So
Melissa did a big series, Your Story
yeah.
Made Here, just before she retired. Great story, talking about all the things that are made in Northeast Indiana. And
Like what?
I loved watching her series just to learn the latest thing. Who knew that was made up here, you know?
it was very
and
interesting
what
to
it,
do.
And so she's very knowledgeable about what people are making up here in Northeast Indiana, and B, the needs of the employers.
How long does
So-
it take for you to research?
Well, you know, I did it every other week, and just, you know, a few hours spent with the person in charge of the plant was a real eye-opening experience, just talking about what kinds of things what kind of people they're hiring, what kind of operation they run, what their market is, what kind of market share they have. You know, I'd go out on the floor and see all of the different aspects of the manufacturing process, and it was just fascinating. I just learned so much about, like David said, what's made here, but also all of the different jobs that there are. And I met
Yes.
lots of kids too, lots of high school kids that
Oh,
were in these
good.
apprenticeship programs, and they were loving it. So it was really
How
fun.
about that commercial that you were in recently with Jennifer Ford Art Gallery?
Oh, that is something for, we all know that we have a drug crisis throughout the country. And I think there's a recognition on the part of public officials, health officials, politicians, and so forth, that we need to start treating this in a different way, approaching this in a different way.
So how do we do it?
Well, I think what Jennifer Ford, who has loaned a building, has given a building to Bernadette Gleason, who is starting something called Trek Limitless Recovery. And her idea is to approach recovery in many different ways rather than just one different way. And she said the system often tells you what your problem is and then tells you what your solution is. And she's saying, look,
Everybody's different.
everyone is different, and what works for one person may not work for another person. So she's trying to organize a community-focused treatment, and also to destigmatize the drug, the substance abuse situation for people, so that they feel able to ask for help from their employer, from their doctor, for their family members, and not be treated as prisoners, but as patients.
Is cocaine and heroin rampant here in Fort Wayne?
Well, I think heroin for sure is. I'm sure cocaine is a big problem as well, but the heroin and now fentanyl is ramping up, and that's
Opiates.
very
Meth?
dangerous.
Yeah.
Opiates.
Meth is
Yeah.
also a problem, but the fact of the matter is that you get people addicted on the opiates, which is far more expensive on the black market, and they move to heroin, which is much cheaper.
Yeah.
Heroin is now made, as is meth, in Mexico, and it's a concern. We need to
Dangerous.
stamp out the homegrown meth.
Yes.
The danger for just children alone is overwhelming.
And they're coming from Mexico and other countries.
But the problem is that as you crush the homegrown, the meth is still coming in as this heroin, and they're coming from the Sinaloa provinces, which is the state of Sinaloa, which is in southwest Mexico, right over the border. And so when people talk about border control, it's not just about talking about who's coming in, people. It's the drugs that are coming in. It's a serious problem, and until we get control and secure our borders, we're not going to get control of the flow of drugs into our country, and that's a big problem.
And it's killing a whole generation of people.
Speaking about killing a whole generation of people, you're pro-life.
Yes.
Very much so. I'm glad you are.
Thank you.
And do you have any dealings with people who are with the pro-life organizations?
Well, very much so. I've worked very closely with Allen County Right to Life and Indiana Right to Life. Kathy Humbarger is a dear friend, and she's the executive director. Mike Victor runs the Indiana Right to Life, and we work very closely with that organization down in Indianapolis, working on legislation within the limits that we can, because the constitutional
so
interpretation under Roe v. Wade limits what you can and can't do. But they've also had various decisions in the courts which give the state some leeway working in that first trimester area, and we work away at trying to create as much awareness as we can about choices and options other than abortion, as well as requiring doctors to provide information who are abortion doctors to women, and they do sonograms,
Yes.
which will show the fact that they have a baby in them, which is required before you do the abortion. So there are things you can do, but in the end, there's limits what you can do at the state level.
Do you see a decline in abortions?
Very much so, and I think part of that is that we're educating people. The young people are getting better educated.
Which is good.
And with the options, of carrying the baby to term, and I think that's critically important. And so the more we can educate, the more we can provide information to an expecting young mother who's in the first trimester or so, we can, is the more the better. And we've also stamped down hard on the selling of body parts, which Planned Parenthood was involved with, which is despicable. And that we made several of those actions illegal, so that some of the things you were seeing over in Illinois cannot happen now in Indiana, but where you're basically making body parts of babies a commodity. It was terrible.
I'm with Lutherans for Life here in Fort Wayne.
So.
And I work along with, Kathy works along with Lutherans for Life. She's a member of this, our thing. And she's a hard worker.
She's a wonderful lady.
Wonderful
She's a terrific
lady.
person. She's saved a lot of lives.
And she walks the walk too. She's, people say, well, what about, bringing these unwanted children into the world? She is a person that
Nothing should be unwanted.
Exactly. And she has shown that in her own life, and she's, you know, taken in children, and she cares on both ends of the spectrum, preborn and afterborn. So she's a real genuine, the genuine article, Kathy is. So
I've known her for about 8 years,
yeah, she's
so
lovely
she's a good
person.
old girl. I love her very much. Also, for the future, what are your plans for the future?
Well, for me, I want to win this election, and
Cool.
then we'll figure it out from there. But Melissa's now retired, and is, you know, she does what she wants, and she stays busy. I can let her speak for herself on that. But
Oh, you do a lot
personally-
of organization
Yeah, I'm on
concert.
several different volunteer boards. Most
Yeah.
recently, I joined the Visiting Nurse Board, which cares for, you know, is hospice and palliative care, and they have a new grief center, which is wonderful. And so, you know, I'm just staying very busy and have lots of projects at home, and we're traveling a lot. Both of our sons are on either coast right now,
Oh my
South
goodness.
Carolina and California, so we're spending time with both of them, which is really fun and nice, enjoying that very much.
I mean, our part of the world here in Fort Wayne, we don't get all the bad weather that the other states are getting. I feel like we're under a dome of some sort.
I've always said that. Curtis Smith always disagreed with me, but I've always said there was a
My-
dome over Fort Wayne.
Yes, there is. There's got to be because we live here. But why?
There's urban legend about
go.
the three
The
rivers.
rivers, yeah.
Yeah, and the only times that I've ever thought that the weather here was not so good was one time in 1978
Oh, the blizzard.
and the other one in 1979.
Yeah,
Two years in a row. But other than that,
it's pretty nice.
Fort Wayne is gorgeous.
It is. We love it too.
It's a phenomenal community.
It's a beautiful place to live, and I enjoy the Four Seasons very much.
Oh yeah,
Really do.
it was going up to 90 this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a little steep.
That's a little warm, depending on the humidity. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
a big fan of humidity.
Really lucky though that we live in. This is a pretty temperate climate here, and you know, 90's a rarity. You know, we'll get a short amount of stretches where we'll get a little short hot streak, but it doesn't last. And although it's cold in winter,
Oh,
we don't get tons of snow, not
I
compared
like
to
Toronto.
our friends up in South Bend.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So it's really,
true.
it's a pretty delightful place to live, and the people are phenomenal. There's nobody like Hoosiers, and I think Northeast Indiana Hoosiers are the best.
And this is
So-
a city of churches. Oh my goodness. Almost every corner there's a lovely church.
There are many, many lovely churches here. And I know when I was working at the station, it was just interesting because so many people come and go. But during my 31 years of working in media,
Oh,
I saw
stars.
so many people who came, met someone here, got married, and stayed. And, you know, that's just a testament, I
nice.
think, to the nice.
It's a nice
City.
atmosphere, a lot of culture,
Right.
schools.
It's a big little town.
Big, oh, I
It
like
is.
that.
It is.
Big
And it's
little
getting
town.
better.
Yes,
and
it is.
we have to stay on our horse and work hard at that. And it's just for all of Indiana because we don't have the mountains, we don't have the oceans, you know.
You have the three rivers.
Yeah.
We have Three Rivers.
We
We're
don't have,
working on that.
We don't have the year-round weather, but we have great people. We have a great environment to build a business and create jobs.
There
Our
are some
job is to make
places
sure we have
in-
people to fill those jobs, but
Yeah.
we have a lot of advantages. Very affordable housing here,
Low taxes.
low cost of living. So there's just a lot of great things going
Great
on
health
here.
community here.
Yeah,
Very great medical community here.
Especially in Indiana, very good.
Yeah.
it is.
So, John, I'm going to cough.
Oh, well, I can't cough, but I can, I can go further. Oh, Melissa, I remember the first time I heard you, and I used to listen to WGL radio.
Yeah. My first job.
I
Yeah, it was great fun, and that's where I really got bitten by the bug. You know, I just enjoyed radio so much.
How long were you on the radio?
I worked at WGL for 1 year, and then moved out to California, and we were married for 2 years, and then I moved back and worked there for another year. And then I worked shortly.
You were married for 2 years, but you weren't married afterwards.
Well, we were married.
It's the way she said it.
I know, it is the way I said
I
it.
got a scoop.
She was married. She wasn't married to radio.
I wasn't,
But,
no, that's right. But I came back.
she was
we
married to
moved,
me.
We moved back married, and I got the same job I had before at WGL.
She's
So I
blushing
worked there
people.
twice.
I remember, she used to have put it on a tape recorder, and she'd tape record, her interviews.
Oh, yeah.
And I had made this fantastic Beatles tape. Really worked hard on it, just for our little
Cassette
trip out,
tapes.
east and all that. And it was just had everything on it. It was a really special Beatles thing. And she couldn't find a tape, and she looked around, grabbed the Beatles thing, stuck it in her thing, and taped right over it. Interviewed somebody, who knows what.
I don't remember, but
it wasn't anything important, but half the tape went away. And
Yeah, hey, and
I'm almost ready to forgive her. For it.
He's
Oh, you
never
haven't
forgotten.
forgiven her
It's
at
been
all?
30-some
Yeah.
years.
So
Oh,
those
my
were the days.
stars.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
funny.
my goodness. So what mischief have you two been getting into now that she's retired? Just traveling, you say?
Yeah, we've been traveling. We spent 10 days out in California visiting our younger son.
Yeah.
And I've never really spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, and so that was really interesting. Saw a lot of really beautiful sections of Los Angeles that I really didn't know about. You are more familiar with it since you spent a lot of your childhood in Southern California.
When Eric moved out there in September, he and I spent the better part of a week really looking for places for him to live. The funny thing about LA is you think of it as a concrete jungle, but you
It's
get
nice.
off the
I
main
lived
streets.
out there.
You get off the main streets and the highways, and there's
It's
lovely
nice.
neighborhoods in every direction.
Yeah.
Surprisingly,
And
so
big, huge mountains to hike.
Saddleback.
oh yeah,
We
Right.
used to live there in Rancho Santa Margarita.
you
Oh.
did.
About
Oh,
10
Saddleback's beautiful down south of
And
LA.
Triple
Right.
Canyon.
Yeah. So we had a good time.
Do you have grandkids?
No, not yet.
You
Neither
got to
boys
work
are
on
married.
that, people.
I know.
Well, it's out of our hands, so to
I
speak.
know.
It's God saying, okay.
That's right.
But we'd love to see that happen. Sure
Yeah,
would.
of course. Yeah. Both the boys have nice gals, so we'll see.
It's marvelous. Our kids are living apart, and you talk about Los Angeles. I've got a daughter in Irvine, and I've got the other daughter in Emden, Germany.
Oh my.
Well, that is
That's quite a ways.
quite a split.
So it's. I would prefer.
I was born in the Santa Ana Hospital, but my first 5 years of my life, I lived in Irvine, California,
Oh, my
when it
stars.
was nothing but
Small
orange groves.
world.
It was all orange groves and agriculture, and now it's nothing but. Where I grew up, you could go for miles in either direction in orange groves,
Oh, my
and it was
stars.
great. It was a fantastic place. Now it's a planned community, and where the orange groves were, there's a huge man-made lake with a section of
I
Saddleback
know
Junior
what that
College, and with mixed use and house. You wouldn't believe it, but back in those days, it was a pretty cool place to grow up. It really was. Yeah.
Well, it's almost the end of our show.
Well, it
Darn it.
is.
I wish I could have you guys on again. Can you come back?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what the schedule calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about time to say hello and goodbye and all that sort. And thank you for coming on to my show, Senator.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for
And
having
nice to
us.
be had.
Yeah, you could
I always
see
wanted to say that.
Good to see you too.
You guys are so much fun. I love you guys.
Well, thanks. It's been great to talk with both
And
of
thank you, John.
Thank you,
you.
John.
Thank you for coming on to my show. And we'll see you next week. And I hope everyone has a good week. God bless.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my